everybody. Good morning to the Jane community. Good afternoon to some of the community as well. We're not all in the same time zone. We decided today is Marketing Monday. We're going to be talking about marketing today. If we haven't met, I'm Kendall Hagensen. I'm a somatic psychotherapist and I own a multidisciplinary clinic here in Vancouver, Washington, United States. I'm also a wellness business coach and most importantly, a Jane ambassador. Suzanne and Cassie are here with me today. Ladies, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. So I'm Suzanne Jagger. I own Aura Aesthetics Med Spa, which is in Portland, Oregon, and I co-own with Cassie Lane Injectables EDU, and that's a injectables training company for nurses and nurse practitioners who want to start their own aesthetics practice.
I am Cassie Lane. My background is that I'm a CRNA, same as Suzanne. I actually originally met Suzanne. She trained me for my first Botox and filler training. And then, she became my mentor, and you'll probably hear us at some point talk about how important we think mentorship is. Yeah. I'm located in Richmond, Virginia. I've got a med spa that's called Cassie Lane Aesthetics and co-owner with Suzanne of Injectables EDU.
Amazing. I'm so excited to talk to both of you, and I'm excited, Suzanne, we've realized we are neighbors, and
yes,
so that's a fun new connection. We're here to talk about marketing, specifically digital marketing, and how do we reach our ideal customers. This is a hot topic. It's always changing. I think we all agree it really starts with this building a really foundationally strong online presence, which starts with being authentically yourself and using your voice and getting really clear on who you're marketing to. So I thought we could start by sharing how our current businesses are using online marketing to promote to our ideal customers and educate our audiences. I'll just give a quick example for our clinic, Vancouver Wellness Studio. We're looking for local people to come to our clinic, right? We're not looking to reach, across the globe. So we're looking for local people who foundationally need this type of healthcare. They've had a disjointed experience in Western medicine. They have trauma, they have chronic illness, and those are the people we are looking for. Of course, we break it down by demographics and age range and gender. And, in our clinic, we serve all ages, but then there's that age range that come here the most, right? 30 to 65. So learning that information over time about your audience is really, really important. I think both of you would agree. Kind of our approach to digital marketing from an online perspective, we use social media platforms. I get asked a lot about, as a coach, which social media platforms to use. For us, we want local people. We have that age range. We're using Facebook and Instagram. We're not using TikTok. Does that mean that our customers are not on TikTok? No, but it does mean that for local customers who are coming to an in-person healthcare service, the platforms we use are more effective for us, right? E-newsletters, website, all of these things are super important, and we'll get into it. Google Ads, I don't know how detailed we can get into those today, but those are vitally important for what we do. The most important thing for us that we've learned over the years is consistency, authenticity, and consistency. It's important that no matter what platform you're using, that your brand is super consistent. And I think we can get into that, but that is the mistake I see a lot of people making, is creating a brand and then veering away from the brand in marketing. And the brand is such a guidepost that if we can have that consistency, then your audience knows what to expect. So I'm curious for the two of you. Suzanne, maybe you want to go first.
Sure.
How are you currently using digital marketing?
Well, I think I'd like to lean into a little bit about what you're talking about branding, because what we see with new businesses or even established businesses, because I think most people in Jane are clinicians that turned business owners. I think that's a common theme that we see a lot. And so they don't know about marketing. They don't know about social media. They don't know about branding. And so they often think, oh, well, I can do this. I can do it by myself. So number one is getting the help that you need to figure out what your brand is and do those branding exercises so that when you go into crafting a marketing strategy, and yeah, it needs to be a strategy. It isn't just like, oh, I need to start an Instagram page. I need to get on Facebook. And we see that so much because Cassie and I do a lot of coaching in this sphere of people like, well, I'm going to save money and just do my own. I picked my colors off of Canva. You know, like I get it. We've all been there. I built my first website totally in my call room. Okay, I get it. But if you really want to scale and grow, doing that brand work is super important. And here's why. There's a great book, Playing to Win. If you haven't read it, it's fantastic. It's an old book. But what it says is you need to differentiate yourself in the marketplace in a very specific way. And if you think about brands like, say, Applebee's or a Chevy Malibu car, like, and no shade to anyone that has a Chevy Malibu or anyone that loves Applebee's, but I don't think anyone is going to ever say like, that is the best car. That's the best subcompact car in the market. It's not. No one's ever going to say Applebee's has the best hamburger in the market. It doesn't. It's not the best at anything. So the number one thing I say, especially with new people or smaller businesses without a huge marketing budget, is to be so specific about what makes you amazing. So that when people go shopping to find a somatic therapist, to find a Botox injector, to find a chiropractor, they can't help but choose you because you are the answer to the thing that they're looking for. And there really are the classic riches and niches. Absolutely. Lean into that one unique thing that makes you special.
Yeah, I love that. The only thing I didn't agree with is that I think that Applebee's is the best at making riblets because I used to, which riblets is not even a real thing, but I used to work at Applebee's, so I love that you picked that.
I knew I'd offend somebody. I knew
They
it.
have a great riblet basket for anybody who's
And the strawberry lemonade's really good. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So
Oh my gosh.
besides that really terrible mistake that you made, and that I agree with everything else that you said. Couple things that really popped into my mind when I was listening to you guys talk, and I was thinking there's no simple answer, which is frustrating. It's a whole specialty, right? And you're kind of, Suzanne, you say this a lot, like none of us went to website building school. So if the budget is there, one of my number one tips is to invest in a really SEO optimized website from an actual marketing company. This is not like your brother's daughter is in marketing school for undergrad. This is like a real company that truly knows what they're doing, because I think of marketing as a pyramid, and it makes me think of the food pyramid that used to be big, with the bread on the bottom, which we all know is now not what we need. But so at the very bottom of that pyramid where bread used to be, I put SEO optimized website, because that is the absolute most important thing. And one thing that we do see a lot in our coaching is people skipping to Google ads or skipping to Facebook ads or skipping to these things that should be more up at the top of the pyramid. If you don't have the strong foundation of an SEO optimized website that has online booking availability, then doing anything that's on those higher rungs just doesn't make sense. The two most foundational things, and I don't know that I need to go beyond those, but we can continue to talk about it. The next thing that's above SEO optimized website on that next portion of that pyramid, in my mind, is going to be Google My Business. And we actually didn't Suzanne, you actually make a pyramid that like looked exactly.
Yeah, I was just going to post it in the chat.
Yeah. Is Google My Business, getting that really filled out fully and getting absolutely as many Google reviews as you can. And I think that's something fun we could talk about, is like how you guys encourage Google reviews. We send a follow-up text that's triggered by certain appointments or just general, that's like, hey, please submit a Google review for us. We really appreciate it. Mention it at your next appointment and we'll give you a little surprise gift. We have like a little skincare thing we give people if they say, oh, I wrote a review. So that's worked well for us.
Yeah, I think that's so important, that idea of, if you're not here yet, don't go here, because it is a waste. Google ads can get very, very expensive. And there are a lot of people that say they know how to create Google ads for your company, but they don't know your industry well enough. And so it's really important to vet those people. But I also agree, Google My Business is super underutilized, I find, a lot of the time. And it's an amazing resource that you have at your fingertips to really build out and have people know exactly, if you don't know what Google My Business can do, you can connect it so that on your social media scheduler, so that your social media posts are also going to Google My Business. And when people are finding you on Google, they see exactly what you're offering in real time. So it's super cool. Okay, so I'm curious for both of you, what have you noticed about potential clients and customers over time about how they are using social media? And how does that inform what you do next with your digital marketing?
Yeah. One thing that I find, and this varies across, I think, fields, everyone thinks that social media is a huge driver of their like business marketing plan. And Cassie says, I'm going to break hearts today by being honest on this point. It's not.
The same.
It's not. It's not. It is not. If you get your Facebook and your Instagram dialed in, all of a sudden your door is going to be knocked down with patience. It's not. I find it's more a choice verification tool, as in they find you on Google, they find you from word of mouth. Those are the two biggest ones, or drive by, depending on your location. And then they go to your social to verify that this is a good choice, that this sounds like it's, going to be a good fit. And that's really how social works. And in that way, then what is my goal is to reaffirm their choice that choosing you is smart and safe. And they know, that they build that know, like, and trust thing. So that's where that education component comes in. I think everyone's seen the rotation of posts, something funny, something educational, something a before and after, and then, whatever. We have a social person that does that for us, but really leaning into that really high quality education and the classic being authentic, showing stuff about you so you feel approachable, it feels familiar when they come to see you.
Yeah, agreed. People connect with other people. And I think that's where social media really shines, because oftentimes your website's going to be so informational. It's going to really, your website's going to really credential you, and your social media is going to be more about getting to know you as a human. People oftentimes walk in my door and you can tell they already feel like they know me because they've engaged. While there certainly, I have clients that do come in and I ask everybody, both in writing and verbally, how did you find us? The number one thing people say is, I Googled it, which that's usually Google My Business. That's either Google My Business or my website that's done that for me, right? But then everybody continues to, people really research their providers in certain areas, certainly aesthetics, wellness, a lot of areas is one. But then from maybe their website, they then go over to your Instagram. Most people, I will say, I feel like a large percentage of my patients are interacting or seeing or checking out my social media before coming in, even if it wasn't the way they found them. So it's just to validate and bring one more piece of credibility, one more education tool, one more touch point with that know you, like you, trust you. So I do think it's an important piece, as long as you're building on top of that foundation of the more important pieces. And I actually don't think for most people you need to, or make sense to pay a lot of money for a social media person, because it doesn't, the beautiful thing about social media is it doesn't have to be super polished. It's just about connecting with that other human and educating and building that one more trust step. So the biggest thing with this is, like you said, being authentic and being consistent, and just having something that validates you at one more touch point. And then once somebody is your follower, that can be a good upsell place. Like, hey, we're having this flash sale, or did you know we're getting this, we have this event, or we have this new product. So it can be a way to kind of have ongoing touch points with your already invested patients as well.
Yeah, I think social media works really well for events or classes, and if your audience is already building trust with you, and then you say, oh, here's this class to sign up for, we have this new series coming, here's the link, they can just register right there. I think that we've seen that be most effective for those sorts of things. I don't think any of us can reiterate the consistency piece enough, right? That someone that finds you on Google and then looks at your website and then looks at your social media and then comes to your place in person and experiences a service, that they feel that that has been a consistent experience. We had someone last week just tell me, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I felt what I saw on social media to come see this massage therapist was exactly what I experienced when I got there. And that is so cool. And they took the effort to tell me that, right? Because how impactful it is. So if you take anything from this webinar, it's authenticity and consistency across the board. Let's talk a little bit about considerations, like scope of practice, ethical considerations for social media and digital marketing, given our industry, right? So patient privacy has to be number one, right? All of us are healthcare providers. So our kind of set of agreements and rules that we go by, we never post an image or quote or story about a patient without their permission. We never post their, picture. We have a couple ways that we include patients in social media with their permission. And this goes back to getting reviews on your Google My Business. Is we have a review contest every month. Anyone can enter throughout the month. If they give us a review on Google, they get entered into the giveaway and they win products or services. And then if they give permission, we'll take their picture and they can go on social media with their first name, right? So privacy is really important, especially, social media is just so widely used. I think sometimes as business owners and healthcare providers, it's easy to get in that trap of like, oh, this is just what people do. But we have to remember that we are licensed healthcare professionals and we have to be, maintain patient privacy. I think the second top consideration about social media as a healthcare provider, from my perspective, is we just need to stay within our scope of practice on ethics. So, there's a lot of people out there giving advice, medical advice on social media. So a boundary for us is that if this is not something that you would say to someone on the street who is not your established patient or client, then we're not going to put that on social media as advice giving or medical advice giving. I'm curious if the two of you agree with that.
I think we have, specifically in our field, we have a little bit more latitude in that. So I know for our colleagues in, the mental health services, it's a completely different kind of beast. One thing, we do have a lot of people that are private in our specific office. And so finding a lot of before and afters, you actually won't find a lot because a lot of people are that kind of private. So it's respecting what they're willing to share and not willing to share. Cropping is always an option if you have an industry that can take pictures. There's ways to make it look more anonymous. Using initials, we did that for a long time whenever we posted a review. So not even a first name, but even just initials is something that you can do. If you can't solicit reviews, obviously don't. I saw that in Canada, you can't do that. So that makes it challenging. That's another layer.
Well, and it depends on your profession. Like as a mental health counselor in the United States, you can't solicit reviews either.
Yeah.
But there's ways to give opportunity to say, if you choose to go give us a review, that's your choice. Right.
Well, and I think people go wrong too with like giving a direct, monetary reward. I know a lot of people have gone wrong with, oh, if you post a review, you get $50 or something like that. That's patently illegal. In fact, our social media manager just sent us an article that in the United States are going to get a lot more punitive about buying followers and paying off people. So it's something to be mindful for, of course. Yeah. Cassie, have anything to add?
I think one thing we're mindful of is even inside of our training company with Injectables EDU, we only partner up with businesses that we use ourselves and truly believe in and we feel like helps our community. And that's safe for encouraging products and services to your patients. And that's one of the reasons we partner up with Jane, is because, it needs to be, I think thinking about ethics, it needs to be that win-win. We're all have a business to have a good life for ourselves and our families, along with providing great care. But just, yeah, that's the ethical piece that kind of came to mind for me. The other thing is when you're responding to Google reviews, that's where it can be real easy to accidentally mess up on HIPAA. So be extra careful if you're responding to a Google review, even if it's a positive one. You can't like confirm or you can't confirm that somebody's a patient of yours. So just be really thoughtful. You can't say, "Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed your Botox treatment, Mrs. Whoever." So just be real thoughtful in how you respond to Google reviews. I make sure that I'm always giving plenty of cushion, that I'm not pushing on anything HIPAA wise.
Yeah, for sure. So I think people are going to want to know, how much do we spend on marketing in our businesses, and how much percentage, like what's that ratio? How much should we be spending on marketing? What do you think?
Great question. So we talk a lot about what we call revenue pie in Injectables EDU, which is breaking down all your expenses into, you have only 100%, right? If you're over 100%, you're running negative, you got a problem. So when with the marketing piece of the pie, when you're an established business, we like to see it somewhere between 4 and 10%. When you're really first getting started, it's somewhere on the order of 8 to 15% of your total revenue should be going to marketing. And the bulk of that, I don't care where you are in your business cycle, should be on, website and SEO. And then as you move up the pyramid, it's kind of less and less. If you are spending a gajillion dollars on Google ads and influencers, I suspect you don't necessarily have unless you are a giant company and you're at that stage, which I don't think any of us are, is likely not well spent. And it just pains me when I, break down people's marketing budget and they're spending $3,000 a month on Google ads, and they're doing their own SEO. So
Right, you
it's
made
really
your
painful
own
to see.
like
And you made your own website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely doing it backwards, and you do see that a lot. So just to clarify, when Suzanne's talking about revenue pie, that big overarching number she's talking about is like your total revenue. So that's if a patient paid you $100, then the marketing budget that would have gone to that one patient should be 10%. So it would be like $10. But that $10 goes to running your web SEO website. It goes to all things marketing, your branding, creating your logo, your business cards, being a sponsor at a local event. All those things are marketing. And one thing we dive in really a lot at our, we have an annual conference called our Injectables EDU Summit, and we like really deep dive. We go beyond even marketing, just to talk about like how much your payroll should be, how much your cost of goods should be. So we tell you what that whole revenue pie looks like, all the different pieces of where that every $1 a patient spends with you, where that dollar should be being spent, and how much you should actually be keeping of that dollar, most importantly.
Someone was just asking, what does SEO mean? And this is really important to define these terms: search and engine optimization. And this is talking about how easy it is for people to find your website. And when people search for you on Google, how fast are they finding you? Are they finding you for the right things? And really optimizing that process. And there are absolute experts who do this. You do not need to learn how to do this. I think we all three would agree to hire someone to do this, make sure they're the right person. At what point, I think we'll probably get this question, when do you think is the right time to hire someone to do your social media marketing, to do your SEO? I always say, if you're sitting here asking the question, it's been time to hire them, and yesterday.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
So we have a couple schools of thought. First of all, when we ask people to start a business, we ask that you actually have some money on hand, that you don't start with debt. And that becomes really hard because a lot of times people are pivoting from a bad situation to starting their own business, like they were in a toxic work environment, change of life circumstances. It's almost a necessity move. But it also makes it really hard. As someone mentioned, when you first start, you're bleeding money, like your startup costs are expensive. And so a lot of people kind of leap before they look and don't line item what all those expenses look like. And that includes having a healthy-ish marketing budget, because if you build it, they don't come. As like you just hang a shingle as a new massage therapist, nobody knows you exist. You could be the best massage therapist on the planet, but marketing is the lifeblood of your business. And so not, adequately investing in that, if you're really trying to make a go of this, it's different when you have a hobby business. And I don't think many people here are hobbyists. But if you're really trying to go somewhere, you need to have this line item as a startup cost, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I'm seeing lots of questions about like choosing SEO. And the one thing people ask me all the time, pretty much the question is like, is there one perfect like website building company? What website building company should I use? None of them are perfect. I think while in choosing, and Suzanne has a great stat that like most businesses go through how many different like website designers, 3 or 4 or something like that.
4 to 5. I'm on my 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, they'll end up disappointing you at some point, or reaching reaching the capacity to work with your business, like exceeding the fit for your business, and that's okay.
It's hard to find a great marketing SEO website company. Website is that number one thing, because somebody just wrote with endless SEO options. Like I think website's the main place to first and foremost focus and invest in. And there are a billion companies and none of them are totally perfect. And so my recommendation is to talk to a handful of them and see what one resonates with you and you feel like they have shared vision. But I would also, when signing a contract, I would get firm, like, well, when will my site be done by? Okay, well, what happens for every week that it's not completed past this deadline you've set? What happens to how much money do I get back from what I'm paying? Like holding them to a timeline, I think is really important, because once they've got your commitment and your money and all this time has been invested in creating a website, you're very much, you're on board, you're on the train. So you want to have some kind of consequences, in my opinion, if they cannot deliver in the time frame that was promised to you. Look at other websites that they've built and just see, how do those websites look? Do they pop off the page to you when you compare it to other websites? Look at websites that you really admire, scroll to the very bottom of the page and see who made that website for them.
And then ask for references too, like talk to people. Exactly. If you love their website, be like, reach out to them. I cold called some people, like when I was looking at a different website, and like, hey, I see they built your website. How was your experience? How'd it go? Sometimes if you ask for references, they're only going to give you ones that were positive. But if you cold call, most business owners feel compassion for somebody else. And if it's bad, they'll be like, they're dying to tell you.
Totally.
Yeah, and a pretty site, so somebody just said pretty site doesn't equal great SEO.
But totally right.
But guess what? If you found that site, then they probably have pretty good SEO. So, it depends if it's just like your friend that you know and it's pretty sure. But if you somehow found this website on the internet by Googling, then odds are that SEO is probably halfway decent, and really talk to those references on the phone, because I'll be a reference for my website people and via email. I just don't get as wordy and give as much information as somebody. I'll be really honest, especially on the phone, about what I think are the biggest strengths and weaknesses.
I also think that you do better finding someone who knows your field. There are, masters of all things, or was it? Anyway, finding someone that works in healthcare, works in mental health, works at least in healthcare, because there's HIPAA things, there's law things, they're just more familiar. And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's shift to questions. Let's take about 10 minutes for questions, because we've got quite a few of them. I'll just say before we jump into questions that if you're thinking about, well, I have this amount of money, this small amount of money to start, and where should I put it first for marketing? Personally, from the beginning, because someone asked, did you feel like you were bleeding money when you first started? I'm guessing maybe when you first started marketing. For us, I always went towards investing in paying my providers to network and build relationships, and going out and building relationships in the community, and at the same time, digital marketing. But we didn't do Google ads for 5 years in our company, and building those relationships. And those relationships are still serving our clinic today, 9 years later. So I would say, if anything, if you have this small amount, is start building your community and building those strong referral networks. Okay, so we went over SEO a little bit. what is the easiest way to learn about SEO?
Well, my goal for you is that you don't sit around learning SEO, is that you spend your time doing revenue generating activities like seeing patients, and that you hire someone amazing in your field that will do the SEO for you. Someone asked how much it costs. It really varies depending on what your contract looks like. How many pages is your website? How robust is it? How much maintenance does it require? So anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a month. Like I think I spend about $1,500, and that includes blog posting, maintenance. They're on contract for maintaining 30 keywords, trying to get them to page 1. They make sure that there's no bugs, that it's loading all the time. So that's kind of the range you're looking for.
Yeah, I'll put in the chat box this as well. We have a great blog article that's like, how much does it cost to get an SEO optimized website? It's really, really informational. It talks about like the different factors of things that Google looks for that will make Google, you don't need to be an SEO expert, but it's like understanding enough to kind of understand some questions to ask about SEO to be able to tell if the company you're working with is an expert. So I'm gonna go copy that.
I pulled it right here, Cassie.
Oh, great. Thank you. And then also I saw somebody asking about the pyramid of marketing. Suzanne actually already shared that in the chat box. So just scroll up a little bit, because she shared that PDF in the chat box already about our pyramid of marketing that we had mentioned. But if you want something that blog post is actually me talking to an owner of a website company, and he like really goes into all the stuff that I don't totally understand because I didn't go to website school. But he does a really nice job explaining things that Google prioritizes, like your name is the same and the name of your business is the exact same. Like you don't want it to be Cassie Lane Aesthetics on one side, one site, but it's like Cassie Lane Aesthetics, Richmond, Virginia on another one. Like just little things like that makes the internet trust you. Having backlinks, just things like that. There are multiple pieces that go into SEO, and that is, if you want to deep dive into that a little bit more, I think that's a really good resource to check out.
If you're interviewing someone to hire to do SEO optimization for you, I would ask them to show you an example from, a few of their current clients of how much they've improved that company's ranking over time. Because they should know how to track all of that, and they can show like, okay, you used to be 22nd on Google when we Googled for acupuncture in your area. Now you're number 3, right? They need to be able to show that they have created results, because that's a big deal. If they can get someone from 22nd on Google to 3rd in 3 months, then pay them $2,000. Great.
Yeah.
So that's something specific I would really ask for.
SEO definitely takes time too. Though you're talking about, at least 6 months, if not longer. The longer you've been around having an SEO optimized website, the stronger you're going to get, the higher you're going to place. And I don't think you need to spend money on Google ads and Facebook ads. I think it can be a lever to pull, and some people, we've done them and had really good success, especially when we first rolled out weight loss. And then I'm going to be honest, like I've seen a really huge diminishing return in paid, especially like meta ads over time, and maybe Google a little better, but I've recently put mine all on hold because I've just seen it going like I'm doing some different stuff. Like we've done a billboard that's been incredibly successful for us, surprisingly. We've done some commercials, so we're mixing it up. But again, was I doing this in my first 3, 6, 1 year, 2 years? No, you're not doing it's unlikely that it makes sense. Those are like the top of the pyramid where you're really fine-tuning stuff. You've got a real strong base.
Yeah. Someone said, if you have a good website, does that not include good SEO? No, not necessarily. No. And I've made some absolutely costly mistakes trusting companies that, they're beautiful designers, web designers, and they create a beautiful pathway for a client through the website, but they were not experts in SEO. And it really, really hurt our business. And so it's super, super important to make sure there is an expert in the room.
It seems common sense, and yet unfortunately it's not.
Well, but and they will, I mean, this company looked me in the eye and said, your SEO will not be affected. It will be improved. And
Yeah.
it was not.
I'll also say
Right?
you always get a ding when you launch a new website, having done that so many times.
Sure.
When you start a new website, you're going to go down for a couple months and then it rebounds. It takes about 6 months to for it to really like kick back in. So
Okay, this is a great one. What strategies do you use to build relationships in the community network to increase word of mouth referrals?
that's hard, and it really depends on your industry. I mean, what's funny about us is that other like kind of service providers that are in the beauty field are actually the best. Like there's nothing better than a great hairdresser as far as a referral source.
Yeah,
I will all day,
I'd
every
say
day take
hairdressers for referring to anything.
everybody. Like get as many hairdressers as you possibly can to build your business. My favorite referrals, and I honestly wish my whole practice were hairdressers, teachers, and nurses. That is all I want to see all day, every day. Like
Yeah.
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And those I think are the core three people that are really good at sharing good referrals.
Yeah.
I think
go ahead.
connecting with other local businesses that share, think of a big part of marketing is knowing who you're marketing to. So who's that ideal client avatar? They say get really specific with who exactly you're marketing to. And then, well, where does she or he go? Where do they shop? Where do they do XYZ? And try and connect with those business owners, or if it's local gyms. I know, like Suzanne, you've gotten a lot of referrals from like Orange Theory and
Yeah, we partnered with Orange Theory for several years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you think, where else does my ideal client go, and trying to build a mutual referral business with them, that you're benefiting them, they're benefiting you, and creating a real relationship with that other small business, or doing an event together, or inviting them out to a local event for you. That can be a good kind of authentic way. That real networking is when there's a real relationship there. It's not just like, well, how can you help me? It's like, how can we help each other and help our shared, avatar client?
Absolutely. There are definitely structured networking groups out there. If you haven't heard of BNI before, Business Networking International, it's one of the most widely used, super structured, super committed networking groups. It's all over the world. There's chapters everywhere. Pros and cons to that type of group. There's one person from each industry in there. What we have found over the years, it works really well. It has to be the right personality of person that's joining the group, because it's very participatory and engaged. But you can build real relationships there. Works really well for massage therapists, estheticians, nutritionists, acupuncturists, anyone who would be okay with people in the group being their patient, that type of thing. Doesn't work great for mental health counselors and, maybe physicians. But that's
I'd say
one
BNI
of the,
for aesthetics was not terribly useful, just because we have such a high price point that our niche is a little bit different than their average, customer serving those other industries.
Yeah, and
that
we're
makes
all
sense.
cash-based providers. Best I can tell, Kendall, everything that you're offering is cash-based as well. And
Yep.
I think a lot of our advice is going to be more applicable to cash-based businesses. Another little gem I do for whether it's other estheticians that I would want them to refer to us, or maybe I'm renting a space in an area with a bunch of other providers, I'll give promoter pricing, and I call it that. I call it promoter pricing, so it's very clear. And I do $8 per unit Botox for people, or whatever toxin I'm using, for people who, and I say, I want you to have like the best access to my services, because I know how much your patients or your clients trust you and how they're asking you. So I want to, let you have really great access, so you feel comfortable and excited to share it with your clientele. And then when they do refer somebody, then if I see a few referrals come through, that's when I surprise and delight them by giving them something for free. Like, thanks so much for those couple referrals. Why don't you come in and have a blah, blah, blah. Let's get you to do a carbon laser facial. So then when somebody is that super fan, then I continue to kind of strengthen that connection. So that can be a good way to get promoters where you're not losing money, and kind of create those super fans.
Awesome. All right, I think we're going to close the questions there. For future questions or anything that wasn't answered, I can speak for myself. If you ladies are open to it as well, anyone can email me anytime at kendall@wellnesscentercreators.com, and I'll try to answer your questions about marketing. Ladies, I'm curious, as we close, if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice about marketing in particular as you were starting out, what would it be?
For me, it's a no-brainer. Being on my 5th website was to find a good person and do it right out of the gate, because I spent 3 times the amount piecemealing it for a lot of years, and I didn't even realize that for 2 years you could even find me on Google because I didn't even know better. Right. So I've made every dumb, expensive mistake in the book. So I encourage you not to do that.
Yeah. Mine is similar. I would tell myself to commit to myself that I'm going to spend my marketing budget. So if we
That's a good one.
ballparked, it should be about 10% of your revenue. I would tell myself earlier on. Now I actually commit to myself that I will spend that money on marketing, because that is how you grow. But I think sometimes we don't have confidence in it, so we don't do it. Not everything is going to be a home run, and that's okay. It's, some things will be home runs, some things will not.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I mostly would just look back at my younger self and just laugh. I totally had this motto of like, let's just keep it simple. Let's keep everything so simple. And it's just not simple. It's ever changing all the time. It's super complex. One thing that I did at the beginning that I would never go back and change is, from day one, using images of our real space and our real people instead of stock photos. And we have a multidisciplinary wellness center with people on site, and so it makes sense for us. And that's something that I feel was a really good decision at the beginning. Like, let's start with who we actually are and continue forward in that way. So I do invest in photos rather often for our clinic.
And
Suzanne and Cassie, go ahead.
We're definitely down to have anybody email us.
Yeah,
I did want to say thank you so much, Kendall, and thank you to Jane, and thank you to all the Jane users that showed up today to be with us. And best way to connect with us at Injectables EDU is you can go to injectablesedu.com. You can follow us at Injectables EDU on Facebook or Instagram. You can email Suzanne or myself, but just our first names, at injectablesedu.com. And hopefully Jane can share all this out, but who's interested,
yeah, they will, for sure.
Please feel free to reach out to us directly. We have free 20-minute mentoring calls. We just love connecting with other people in the aesthetics space and helping other providers.
Amazing. Suzanne and Cassie, thank you so much both for being here. We hope this was so helpful to everyone watching. We will see you next month on November 18th. I'll be talking to our guest Roxanne on the difficult topic of ending professional relationships with clients who you might need to fire your client, and how does that go, and how do we do that ethically and professionally. So join us on November 18th. I'm Kendall Hagensen. Thanks so much for joining us for Jane's Office Hours.